first of all, be a gift yourself, okay? And what I mean by that is dress up in a frickin' red bow and get naked and let your partner unwrap the present. Come on, people, be creative.
Hey, welcome to Meet Me at the Spot, where pleasure meets education. This is the space where we get real about sex, relationships, and everything in between. I'm your host, Holly Eckelberger, and I'm a longtime sexual health educator, activist, and content creator. I will be your guide through conversations that blend curiosity, pleasure, and truth. Together with some amazing guests, we'll break down stigma, celebrate bodies, and learn how to embrace sexual health with confidence and joy. So get comfy because it's time for the show to get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Meet Me at the Spot, where pleasure meets education. I'm your host, Holly, and this week I am really excited to share my conversation with Dr. Stacy Friedman. Dr. Stacy Friedman, who uses she, her pronouns, is a clinical sexologist, certified sex and intimacy coach, and the unapologetically bold host of the Purple Passion Project podcast. She has over 26 years in the medical field and over 20 years of working in the sexuality field. Let's jump into my conversation with Dr. Stacy Friedman. Welcome, Dr. Stacy Friedman, to the podcast. I'm really excited to have you here.
Yay.
So the first question I always ask all of my guests is, what got you started in the work that you do?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me because anytime I have an opportunity to talk sex to the world, it always makes me feel good. So thanks for the invite. But, just basic, long story short, when I was younger, people used to joke around and call me Dr. Ruth just because I was always the person that everyone came to, talked to. I was never judgmental. And it was just people found me comfortable and relatable. So I was the person that people wound up coming to. And I actually looked into doing sex therapy. And then I switched later on to do something a little more medical, which I started doing ultrasound. So I learned a lot about the body and the disease processes and how the body works and everything like that. But then I was like, you know what? It just wasn't as fulfilling. And so when I had my first daughter, I wound up doing the adult home parties. And as I was doing that, and I realized after healing from my daughter, things were not healing properly. And I wasn't able to have sex. And here I am, just all about sex, not able to have sex. And I realized I was having a lot of pain. And it took me almost 6 years to find someone to help me. And it caused a lot of issues. And the only person around to help me at the time was a 75, 80-year-old man who was a sex therapist to help me learn how to have sex with my husband in ways that did not involve intercourse. And I said, you know what, there's got to be more people out there. And there wasn't. And this was about 20 years ago. And so I said, you know what? I need to get out of doing ultrasound and I need to start looking into doing something with sex coaching because more people need to be out there to help people like me. And that's kind of what got me into doing the sexology program and getting my doctorate. And here I am today helping people. And painful sex is one of my specialties. So that's kind of what got me started.
Yeah, I love that story. And the ways that your career turns out. I always tell people I ask that question because every guest I have, we could all do something so similar, but the way we got to where we are
Yeah,
is so unique. And I think it's important for the listeners to hear the journeys people take to do the work. As a sex educator or someone working in the sexual health field. There's
absolutely.
so many avenues you can take and so many ways people come to this work.
Yeah, and it also just helps you appear or be relatable because you could say, oh, well, she's gone through that, or he's gone through that, or they've done this
Mhm.
together. They know what they're talking about, and it just helps you find a way to connect with the person that you're working with.
Yeah, I also did a little stint with the at-home sexual toy parties.
I think
And
we all
it was
did.
very fun. Yeah, I think everybody did. And it was very fun. I went as a guest to a party and everyone recommended to the host like you have to talk to Holly. She does sex ed work, like this would be perfect for her. And I was like, naturally this would be a fit because at the time I was working with adolescents and you can't
Mhm.
talk about pleasure with adolescents, right? Like you really discouraged. And so it was a part of the education piece that kids ask about a lot. Like young
Oh
people
yeah.
ask tons of questions, and I'm very limited in what I can say. And then I also found that a lot of adults have those same questions because nobody talked to them about it. And now they're adults at a sex toy party and they're like, what better person to ask? Um,
Right.
and a lot of people working in that field are doing a part-time job and that's great and that's awesome and they don't have all of like the formal like, any kind of training or background and a lot of what I was seeing was a lot of people mimicking the talking points in the way that other, like their mentors and their business coaches and stuff like that had taught them. And one thing that was so important for me is not only to sell product, which I just want to say for everybody, I sucked at. I am not good at sales. I am
I was
terrible.
number one in my company for a few
Oh, of
years. I
course
was
you
always in
are.
the top. I was in the top three in almost every company that I was involved in. So I I,
For
I
me, I
did
was
the
like,
selling good.
oh, yeah, no, I was not good at that, but I was like, listen, if nothing else, these
I can
ladies are gonna
educate you.
leave this party knowing at least something about,
Right.
their vulva and vagina and their clitoris, right? Like they're gonna know something.
Exactly.
And so that they can also have these conversations with their partners because, you're in the party atmosphere in the big room with everybody together, but then you get one on one with folks. And a lot of times they just want to ask so many
Yes.
questions. And it was really a cool moment for me. And that was the part that I truly enjoyed. Like, even if I made $0 from the party, um, I still left feeling like at least I provided some education. At least I helped.
Yeah.
Um, and so I, you know, the whole everyone's like, "Do you know it's like a pyramid?" I knew exactly what I was getting into. I wasn't like, "Wow, this is so." I knew exactly what it was. I found
Right.
I wanted it to be an opportunity to educate about some different topics. And if I made some money on the side, met some really cool people, the amount of times now I see people like from parties that they're like, "Oh,
Oh,
hey,"
there's
we
that
see each other just in
girl.
passing. Yeah. Yeah, right?
Don't say
And
hi. I don't
so
know them. I don't
yeah,
know them.
I won't pretend. I'll pretend I don't know you. I'll be like, "Oh, hey, don't we know each other? Remind me. Oh, from that birthday party, I think, right? Like, so we
Yeah,
pretend we
yeah.
don't know
With the
each
kids'
other.
toys. You know, the kids' toys.
Yes, the toys.
The
Wink, wink.
battery ones. Yeah. Well,
No,
that's,
it's
I
so
mean, that's
funny.
the same though. I would sit in the, you have to go into like a little bedroom and I would sit
Yep.
there and I would sell like a $16 lube. I'd make 50%, I'd make $8 and I'd sit there for 20 minutes coaching and educating and all this kind. I
Hmm.
said, you know what? I need to be making more than $8 and I need to be able to reach more people doing this. And so
Oh yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there was no, you try to get people to get their friends to come, but sometimes things happen, life happens
Right,
and
right.
stuff, and whatnot. But and then once the pandemic hit, it was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not good at this. I don't know a lot of people who would want to have a party. Like all my friends are also sex educators and they were like, "No, we're good."
Yeah.
We buy toys just like on the
We already
internet,
have a
like,
closet full. We're good.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, so that was difficult too, but I love how you took your own experience with feeling pain and discomfort and not being able to have sex and saying, I'm actually going to do something about this because I can't, there's no way I can be the only one who's experiencing this. So how do I turn this into an opportunity um, where if nobody else is doing this except, an older gentleman and who's the only person, how can
Nothing
I be the
around, nothing
person that I
against
need?
an 80-year-old. Yeah, nothing against an
No.
80-year-old man, but that was my only option. And I was just like,
Yeah, no, and that's totally normal. I think that's totally normal. I mean, some people have their own thing. For me, and I know like a lot of victims of trauma and sexual assault are like, I don't want a man, you know, doing business down there, and stuff like that. And then, no offense, I completely trust, male gynecologists and sexual health experts and things like
Yeah,
that.
but you want to have
Um,
options.
yeah, you do. And so when there isn't any, becoming your own option, like, that's really badass. Like, honestly, that is so badass.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
because a lot of people would just say, shit, there's no other options, but I'll make it work with what I have. But you were just like, no, actually, like, I'm not only going to get this certification and do this program, I'm gonna get my doctorate. I'm gonna not be Stacy. I'm Dr. Stacy. Um,
Yeah.
and I no, that's really really cool, and that's so empowering. Um, and
Thank
I
you.
think such a great message for other folks too, who are like, there's nobody around. Like, did you ever think you could be that person? Maybe you're the person who needs to show up and show out and
Right.
stuff like that.
I mean, I look at the way things happen to people for reasons, and sometimes you don't
Yeah.
understand them. And I remember, I mean, it basically ruined my marriage, having 6 years of not being able to be a woman, to not be able to be a partner, a wife, a lover, all these things. And my first name was sex. So it's like, here I am not able to have it. And so to be able to go through that, I was like, there's so many people that deal with so much crap. What can we look in the positive way out of this? I'm helping others. And then I always knew that I wanted to do something in the sexual field. I just didn't know what. And then this just kind of, you know, happened. And I had to learn how to be intimate with my partner without having intercourse for almost 6 years. So that was not fun, but it helped me understand and have empathy and be able to actually learn what sex is truly about. And it's not just about this.
Yeah. Yeah. For people just listening on audio, that was a finger
Oh,
in the hole.
the finger went in the hole.
um, yeah, I think you bring up some really great points in that it it definitely takes a toll, and it's even when it's something that's outside of your control and outside of, but you didn't just decide like, oh, you know what, I'm just not gonna have sex, right? Like, and even if you did, right, like, that's a whole different
Right.
thing, that's a whole different issue and stuff. But the toll it can play on relationships is huge, for sure.
Absolutely. And then the doctors are saying, oh, just drink a glass of wine and relax. You're not relaxed.
Mm.
I'm like, you don't have to tell someone who is a lover of sex to relax to have sex. That's not how it works.
Right. You're like, I'm pretty sure there's other things you could be telling me right now.
Yeah, like how to get help.
Right, right. Like, clearly there's something serious going on. Right,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
So to switch gears a little bit, I would love to hear a little bit more about your amazing podcast, the Purple Passion Project. You can't say that 5 times fast after
I know.
having a glass of wine. And for folks who can't see, who are just listening on audio, like, this beautiful background you have with the purple rose, like, it's so beautiful. It's very, like, on brand. When I opened up my screen and saw you there, I was like, ooh, yes, I love this.
I am a total purple fanatic. I have purple hair, purple car, purple everything. I even have, PD purple vagina for those that can't see. But anyway, no, the Purple Passion Project, I always like to say, if you can't remember, it's the three P's, and not
Hmm.
the P's that you think they are. Um, so the purple, because of my color, passion is just that we need to have more passion in our relationships. And my passion is to help you create yours. And then a project is because we're working together to make something come together. And that's about the Purple Passion Project. And I started it in, I think, June. So I'm only on episode 26. But it's just basically all about sex and intimacy and just trying to bring all different aspects about kink, about men, about loneliness, about orgasm, about, anything that you can think of, relationships. And it was just my way of getting, just kind of like you with your podcast. It's just getting the word of positive sexuality out there, because especially with the political climate of being censored so much. I do lives on TikTok three nights a week, and I am constantly getting censored, and people are asking questions because I do a live Q&A, and people are asking questions that the word squirt is censored. So I'm like, what are you doing? So they'll have to send a little emoji picture. It's like we're here as adults. I have it as adults. You know, we need to be able to get that positive sexuality without being censored, and these podcasts are a great way to do it.
I agree. I've gone live on TikTok. I haven't in the longest time. I'm really traumatized because
Oh
I
no.
last year I said we're not going to know the results of the election the day after. So I'm going to host a live. I like market it on social media. Let's just talk. Let's just kind of like be in community together, thinking they're going to still be counting the votes. It's going to be like last time. It's going to be a hot minute. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. We knew. And then I was like, I've been marketing
Oh no,
this
no,
and I
no.
feel like I have to go live. And wow, wow, the bots and the trolls that came out, it was wild. And I was like, let me go ahead and change like my live settings. Let me go change my like filtered words. I mean, it was just terrible. And I couldn't
Oh,
block them fast enough. They were just coming in so hot and heavy. I couldn't stay on top of
right.
it. And then I didn't go live for a really long time. But the amount of trolls and it's really just distracting from the conversation especially when people are wanting to engage in real
Right.
honest conversation with you. Um, it's just so irritating, and it's like, oh my God, like seriously, where are you coming from? Like seriously, go crawl back into a basement.
Yeah, I have a couple of people that just are religiously following me and are there to support me. Every single time I go live, they get all excited. They're always hitting the like button and they're always, getting, come on, guys, like my cheerleaders. I have like two or three people that I have as my moderators because I'll be looking through the questions and I'll be like, the fuck is this? And I'd be like, next, and they'll just like mute it or hide it and things like that. So if you are going to go live, you definitely need to make sure that there are people there watching, especially in our field. But even just not
Yeah.
even them, but just even TikTok, will sometimes moderate and mute or filter me and saying that I said something I shouldn't say. And I'm just like, oh, come on, people. We're old enough. We have sex. And you know why?
Yes.
Because we're all here. And you know how we're here? Is because somebody had sex.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's what this world is about.
That's
Procreation, fun, pleasure. I mean, why do we have a clit? For pleasure.
right. It's so wild like how social media platforms really do censor the work that we do, and we also have to censor ourselves in the work that
Yes.
we do. I stopped doing that a long time ago for my own social media because I'm like, I first of all, I don't have that huge of a following where I'm gonna get like dinged, um,
Right.
but also I'm like, I personally feel like when I used to do that or spell sex like SEGGS, um, that that level is just making more taboo and stigma, right? It's like creating more taboo and
Right.
stigma. It's like
Right.
people who don't understand, especially for people who don't understand why we have to censor ourselves and why we have to do those things. But for me now, I'm just like, if I'm going to talk about vaginas, I'm spelling it out. I'm not doing like the little app, I'm not doing
No, I
it.
usually I usually do
Yeah.
too, but then what
Yeah.
makes it unfortunate is that
Yeah.
because of the way things are, they don't push you out with the algorithm. They don't get you out to more people. And
No.
I really want to help. That's why I did this podcast. That's why I started more on social media over the last few months, is I want to get out there because people need this information. And so if you really want to get it out there, you almost have to follow the rules. And I don't like those
Yeah.
rules.
I
You know,
know. I'm
I
not
like to
really
be
a
a
rule
rule
follower.
breaker.
I feel like if we're talking about sex on the internet, we're inherently rule breakers. That's
100%.
just kind of like in our nature. Like we know it's something that a lot of people feel shame and stigma around. It's
Right.
very taboo. And it really, like you said, it shouldn't be. Like this is how we got
Yeah.
here. Most
Yeah.
people it really have great sex or want to have great sex, and that's why we exist so that folks can have that information so that they can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna switch gears again totally.
Sure.
So I want to know, because I'm curious, and for the listeners, your thoughts about when folks, I feel like right now when we're recording this, we're like a week out from Christmas. We're in the holiday season, we're in the winter season. Um, and then things kind of get a little, for a lot of people, and especially in relationships, a little stagnant. A little things get put on hold, the stress of everything going on. Um, what are some tips and advice that you have, or things that you like to talk to folks about, kind of spicing up the relationship when things are starting to get a little stale? How do we spice it up? How do we bring that magic back again?
Yeah, well, especially like you said, times like these with the holidays and everyone's has guests over their house and everyone's just, caught buying gifts and doing everything for their family and everything like that. First of all, be a gift yourself, okay? And what I mean by that is dress up in a frickin' red bow and get naked and let your partner unwrap the present. Come on, people, be creative, you know?
Yes.
No, but seriously, we don't take enough time. And you know what? The busiest that I usually am is January and February because people go through the holidays and they realize how crappy their relationship is being because they neglect each other and they need to be able to say, okay, yes, it's the holidays, but the holidays are about love, are about connection, about family. Um, and if you don't take the time to really honor that and nurture that, you're going to miss out on so much juice. Okay. And I know that now that I'm an empty nester, it's obviously much easier because I don't have the little kids running around. But even so, even if you don't have time to have sex, even if you're exhausted, which most people are at this stage, with the holidays and everything like that, the important thing is not to plan a date for sex, but to plan a date to connect. And even if it's an hour, even if it's 30 minutes, every single week, there needs to be some way for you to connect. Even if it's taking a shower together and just soaping each other up, it doesn't have to be about penetration and intercourse. But so many people are like, oh gosh, we haven't had sex in 3 weeks because of the holidays. Well, when was the last time that you kissed and made out and held each other and cuddled naked? Oh, we didn't do that at all. Well, why the fuck not? It's those things that need to be done to help keep things building for when you do have the time.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. A lot of people forget that a big part of sex is the connection, is the
And not the
emotional
sex.
part of it. Right, right. Is a lot of that connection and the emotional part of it. Like even if you're going to engage and have sex, penetration, we're doing this thing, right? Um, if you are thinking about 50 other things, if your mind is elsewhere, it's not going to be as pleasurable as it can be.
Right.
If you're like, I'm pissed off because they didn't do XYZ, blah, 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 right? You're holding on to that because you haven't built in that time to just talk to each other, just connect with each other. Um, it takes a lot out of it, and then
Yep.
it just kind of becomes we're just doing it out of like obligation because we feel like we have to do
Yeah.
it.
That's right. And another thing is that when you are building up some of that resentment and you're not having that time to connect or communicate, a lot of people are getting frustrated because they're missing that time and they don't really know how to explain it, but they're just feeling empty. And that's just because people are not finding the time to connect. And what happens though, when people will sit there and say, "Well, I would love to be able to just kiss and make out and then be done and not have to worry about it." And sorry, men, but I have to call you out. Um, I'll do that with my husband, and as soon as I kiss or make out, he's got his hands down his pants and then gets mad if I'm not able to have sex. So women will stop doing anything because then the men are like, yeah, well, she never initiates. I said, but you want her to initiate not just for sex, but other things to help make you feel wanted, needed, and desired. But if you're not going to allow that initiation to truly just be an initiation and connection, then she's not going to. So, one of the things that I try to help men understand is that if they can allow their partner to do those things or tell their partner, it's okay, we don't have to have sex, let's just fool around and kiss or hug or take a shower, and I won't put any pressure, they're going to get a lot more partners that are going to be open.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one of the biggest things that I always remember hearing is that so many people um puts and this was myself included. I'm not just saying like other people. I'll put myself out there. Are so focused on the end
Right.
goal, whatever that means for them, and usually it's orgasm, whatever it may be. Um and if that doesn't happen, then it wasn't a good
It wasn't
experience.
successful.
Right, it wasn't successful, right? It was a failure on somebody's part. Somebody messed up somewhere, right? Like
Right.
um and taking that part kind of away from the equation, like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If in the middle we're like I'm good. Like I'm actually like feeling like we done right here and nothing bad. You didn't do anything wrong. I don't feel I did anything wrong. It just feels like a good stopping point here.
Right.
That's okay, that it was still enjoyable, it was still pleasurable, it was still a way to connect and be intimate with each other, and things like that. So I love that you brought that up, that sometimes it's just I just want to make out and like just be close to you and kind of touch you,
Yeah.
period.
I understand. Right, exactly, period. And I understand, someone's going to get horny and that happens. And, they're like, okay, well, I'm just sitting here with blue balls or this massive erection. I don't know what to do with it because my partner doesn't want to do anything and discontinue. So, you know what? That's why you have a hand. Nothing wrong with masturbating on your own or even just saying to your partner, listen, I know that you're not in the mood, but do you mind just maybe kissing me while I touch myself?
Hmm.
Maybe try to include your partner. Maybe your partner doesn't necessarily want it, but is happy to oblige you.
Hmm.
That could be as well. And for the women, I want to get more women to be more initiating for times when they feel those little blips. So that way their man does not feel so needy or their partner does not feel so touch deprived. So if you can go and say to your partner, okay, you know, um, I would love to be able to make out, but this is kind of where I want it to end. But I do want to make out with you and kind of set those expectations or those boundaries right up front. And then other times, I talk to women so many times and I'll say, well, have you ever just felt that little blip of energy, that little blip of desire, but you just think to yourself right away, your brain goes, oh God, I feel a little horny, but then I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and then I have to do this. They all say, yes, I do. So anytime you have that blip, stop what you're doing, take advantage of it. Even if you have kids around or you're not in the best position, bring your partner into a bathroom, pull their pants down, suck them, do something fun, okay?
Yeah.
And that way your partner's just left like with this, oh, what the hell just happened, And then that just helps bring some spice for later on. And that's what it is. It's those little moments that will help spice things up. The touching, the flirting. I have a few ebooks that actually I'm going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. But the ebooks, I have one about flirting, dirty talk, and teasing, how to do it. And that is one thing that so many people forget is how to be playful, how to flirt, how to, do those things. That is a lot of ways to spice things up.
Hmm. Absolutely. Oh, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
And such a
well, it has
great resource.
exercises and everything. I'm excited.
Ooh, yes. Can't wait to share when those are official. We'll definitely share those out with everybody.
Thank you.
Um, so what do you say when like when couples or at least one person or maybe both people want to introduce some fun stuff into the bedroom, whether it be toys or different kinds of lube, or even kink practices and things like that. What are your thoughts on that? How can folks do
Go
that in a
for it.
way that's not, yeah, how do folks do that in a way that's not like, if I'm like a female and I'm with a male partner, for example, and I'm like, oh, we got to start using toys. Some males
Yes.
feel very threatened by toys. Um,
Right.
don't. I'm gonna say don't, but I'm gonna also let you answer. But don't feel threatened. They're there to help, friend. I promise you.
Yes, you are right. They are there to help. And what a lot of men don't realize is that 75 to 80% of women do not have orgasms through intercourse and they struggle. And the whole idea is that I hear from men, men are very people pleasing. They really want to make their partner feel good, and that's their goal. And so, if you know that your partner might need a little extra help, and as a woman, you need to use your words as well and express that you need a little help and not fake it and not pretend. Otherwise, you're doing your partner a disservice and yourself.
And yourself,
But
yeah.
and yourself, absolutely. You want to be that. That's why so many women aren't having sex is because they're not having good sex because they're telling people that they're having orgasms when they're not.
Right.
But it's so important to just allow your partner the pleasure and say, it's okay. How can we incorporate this together? And so, if you have a partner that might be a little hesitant, I would highly recommend talking about something that is non phallic, maybe just a small little bullet, or maybe even just bringing in something such as a blindfold and handcuffs. So, it's not even necessarily a toy, or maybe you could even get like, they have a lipstick vibrator or
Mm-hmm.
something like that where the toy is just very discreet and doesn't seem like this big dong that the men are kind of like, you're going to put that where? you know um so that way, and also men don't realize if they've never used toys that a lot of men actually like the vibration. They like it, and I joke around and I call it the nacho area, not your ass, not your balls, the area in between. And that's the area that's sensitive for the man. You could do it right under there under the balls, give a blowjob at the same time. That vibrating could be feeling really, really good. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really just about being open to asking. If you're not comfortable asking your partner, say, "Oh, you know what? I saw this on TV or I heard this on a podcast. What are your thoughts?" Lead with curiosity and not judgment.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, and I know my parents don't listen to this podcast, so I feel comfortable saying this, but my first ever toy, because I lived at home still, and I was a grown up, I went with a guy I was dating at the time. Like, we were both in college together, and we went to a store together, and he bought me a little lipstick vibrator. And so, so funny that you mentioned that,
Ah,
because that was literally my first one, and I was so nervous to have anything because I'm like, I live at home and my parents were pretty
right,
strict,
right.
and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, I can't get busted, and I ended up not bringing it. So I went to like a community college, and then my second 2 years I went away and lived on campus, and I was so afraid. I threw the little lipstick toy out because I didn't want to bring it to college, but I didn't want to leave it at home because I didn't
Oh my
want
God.
someone to find it and stuff. But I will tell you, that little one
Oh, it
battery,
packs a
little
punch.
tiny toy. Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. You do not need, like, if you want to get like a $300 toy because it has all the bells and whistles, great. But if you're looking for something economical, I'm telling you, sometimes you can get a lot out of just a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? There's no toy that is going to replace a partner. A partner is emotional. They're not going to be able to touch you like a toy. A toy just vibrates. And they're also not going to be able to do for men. There's no way that your tongue can simulate a toy either. So don't try, but just go with it. While your partner's using it, maybe have sex at the same time that they're touching themselves. Or maybe you can play with their nipples while they're going down there and playing and moan with them, touch them, kiss them. I mean, all these things, there's so much you can do and incorporate the toys at the same time. They have couples toys. They have toys that you can
Mhm.
do on the remote. I mean, I don't know. Do you sell toys as well, Holly?
Not anymore. Not
Oh,
anymore.
okay. So I have tons of toys on my site that have the apps, that you can
Mhm.
do through the phone. You could do it when you're on vacation and away from your partner or something like that.
Mhm.
So there's just so many ways you can incorporate your partner.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you did bring up, that I think is so important is that, um, because a lot of men have probably not used toys themselves, and have not maybe had previous partners who have used toys, don't realize that the vibration is also very pleasurable or can be very pleasurable for
Right.
them. Like
Right.
the penis is so sensitive. The scrotum is very sensitive. The nacho area,
The
which I love
nacho
that.
area.
That's my favorite now.
Not your ass, not your
Is
balls, the area in between.
is so sensitive, right? Like that is so sensitive right there. Um and they don't realize like toys can also benefit you too, baby. Like
Absolutely.
nipples are very sensitive on everybody, right? Like lots of different erogenous zones. And especially for men who, like you said, are people pleasers and want to see their partner. Um I
Happy.
think it's so sexy to like see your partner have an orgasm, even if it's like not from penetrative sex, not
Right.
even with you inside, but like, damn, like you were a part of that. You're dirty talking in her ear, right? Like you're, sucking up on her nipples and shit. Like you were a
Yeah.
part of it. You were still there, or you were masturbating next to her, and you all are masturbating, together. That's still hot as hell.
Absolutely. There's so much you can do, and you just have to be open-minded, talk about it just from a place of curiosity and saying, "Oh, I saw this somewhere. I heard this somewhere. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Why don't we try
Mhm.
something? Let's see what it can do." And then go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know, lots of sites and sounds like yours included. There's lots of like different ways to just start off something small. Again, you don't need the big like 8 inch,
No, you
thick
can get
ass
a
dildo.
20. Right, right. No, you can get a $20 thing. And another thing, you had brought up the lube, which I meant to mention,
Yeah.
is especially as we get older. I mean, I'm in menopause right now, and
Hmm.
sometimes I need lube, sometimes I don't. It just depends. But
Hmm.
there's not, you should always have some type of lube next to your bedside. I
Hmm.
personally like silicone lubes better just because
Yeah.
they're coating, but water-based, might be fine for some. But I think that the lube can also be much better for people that are having pain or in menopause. I actually carry a lube specifically for menopause. It has like CBD and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
options out there for people to feel good, to glide. And a lot of times, if you're not one to get that wet, or if you're not as turned on, as soon as you can get yourself wet with a little bit of lube, it's going to feel better. It's going to feel different. And they have edible lubes, they have warming lubes. I mean, there's a lot of different, like you mentioned, Holly, a lot of different types of lubes. So that's something that you can bring in. And just because you may not get wet does not mean you're not turned on. It could be medication you're on, it could be the time of the month, it could be your hormones, it could be so many things. But that doesn't mean you're not turned on. So men, I hear a lot of times, well, she doesn't get wet anymore. Like, but that doesn't mean she's not turned on.
No, especially with age. I'm
Yeah.
I'm in the fun perimenopause, so I'm right there with you, friend. And sometimes it's just like, why is it the Sahara Desert down there? And other times it's like, why is it a slip and slide down there? Like, what is
Can you grab me
happening
a
here?
towel, please?
Yeah, right. Right. And so I'm like, it's so unpredictable. And one of the things that I love about the flavored lubes, if you're someone who really is not a super big fan of like giving head, like flavored lubes, game changer. They have come such a long way. Flavored lubes, like they
Yeah.
really they really like they taste good.
There's,
It's
I mean,
like
and
it
there's
kind of
like
can
every
help.
flavor imaginable.
Yeah, I remember when I was selling toys and they had one that was like a waffles and syrup and get out of here. Get out. Oh my God. My little
Yes, I
fat
have
girl
like a
heart was like,
caramel
yes.
latte.
Yep.
Yeah, we have like mocha, strawberry, creamsicle. I mean, it's like,
It's
wow,
so wild. You
blueberry.
can get anything.
Yeah,
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 anything you want. And just that little bit, my favorite phrase is like wetter the better. Like just everybody can benefit from adding a little bit of lube, um, to, penetrative toys, to
right.
penises, to adding to condoms. And silicone, I agree. I never knew like I didn't really know too much about silicone lube for a really long time, I'll be honest. Like
Wow.
I use water based a lot, which was fine, but the silicone, it just lasts a
Oh,
lot longer. It's just is a
it's like
totally different
butter.
feel. Yes, it really is. It's totally different. It's a game
Yeah.
changer. Like I do a lot of like reproductive justice work, and we do a lot of tabling, and we have condoms and lube available on our table, and like silicone is where it's at. Like we're like just. And people come up, they're like, "Oh, I don't need any condoms," and I'm like, and my partner and I will be like, "No, but you need lube, baby.
Yeah.
This is safer in the
Yeah.
showers. The silicone lube keeps them in your bathroom, keeps them
Well, like,
next to here, right?"
right. Well, you say the shower, and I have a silicone lube in my shower because for people that don't know much about lubes, you can't use a water-based, I mean, you can, but it's not going to work very well, water-based lube in the shower because water doesn't mix with water. So if you have water coming on you and then you have water-based lube, it's just going to absorb into the body. But if you have the water and the silicone, it's like oil and vinegar. It's not going to mix. So you could have really good sex session in the shower, get yourself a stool, bend over, lift your leg up, whatever you can, position you could think of, and slap on some silicone lube, and you are good.
Yes, yes. Silicone lube is a game changer for folks. This is so energizing, and I think at the time this episode is coming out, it's January. A lot of folks have that like, new year, new me kind of attitude, and
Mhm.
I think all of this like really great information you have brought into this around spicing up the relationship. The holidays have come down, and we're starting into a new year, which can also bring on a lot of stress in itself. But
Yeah.
the tips you've given about spicing things up and toys and lube, I think the listeners are really going to benefit from that. And as a sex educator, I will say I benefited from those good reminders. Like, oh yeah, no, Dr. Stacy, she's right. That is right. Because sometimes we need a fellow sex educator to remind us in our own
Yeah.
relationships, right?
That's why it's so important to literally talk about it all the time, all day long, wherever you go, because that's
Yes,
what I do. And
yes,
one thing that I also find important, like you mentioned about it being a new year and a new you and all this kind of stuff, you want to look at your relationship after the holidays and say, what can I do to make the change for this year to really make a difference in my relationship? And one of the things that my husband and I do on a daily basis, and the reason why I bring up my husband and not my education is because my husband is my education as well. Okay, your relationship is your education. And I have to say, I probably have one of the best relationships I can even imagine. And it's because we do these few things. And I want to just give a couple of tips there when you talk about spicing things up. Every single day, my partner asks me, and we even joke about it because I'll say to him, what's your plan for today? What do you have on the schedule? Anything I can do to make you happy. What do you need? What can I do for you? And it becomes this joke. Like the night before, I'm like, what's your schedule like tomorrow? Anything I can do to make, I'm like, shut up and just tell me your schedule, you know? So, one of the things you want to do is always think about your partner on a daily basis to see what can you do to make your partner feel good, happy, that thing. And another thing is my husband and I, we make out every single day. And one of the things that people don't do is they have, like, let's say affection and then they go right to sex. There's no sensuality in the relationship. And kind of like we were talking about before, with doing things to spice it up, we have to make out. You have to make out. That's part of it. And you don't have to have sex. We just wake up in the morning. I'll come downstairs. He already had his coffee. He's already fed the dogs. He come down. He takes my glasses off and he puts his hand in my head and he just lays one on me. And I'm weak in the knees. And he's like, all right, so what's going on for the rest of the day? But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, God, that was hot. He's going to get laid later, you
Mhm.
know? So those are some things that people need to do with the new year. They need to start having fun, bringing a little bit more of that playfulness in there.
I love that. I love that. Oh, um, you've given,
Ah,
yeah, you like that, right?
you
Uh,
ready to go upstairs?
yeah, right. Okay, when does the child go to bed? No.
I know.
Um, I mean, you've given so much advice already, but as we get ready to wrap up, the last question I have is, what's one big piece of advice that you have for the listeners?
Besides making out every single day, because that is a big piece of advice, you know what? You have to have those conversations. There's so much shame and there's so many people just waiting for their partner to do all the work. What you need to do is however your partner acts, if you want to make that change, you need to react how you would want your partner to react. So that way they're feeding on that energy. Sex is a transfer of energy. If you're bringing negative energy to the relationship, you're not going to have a good sex life. And so if someone gets frustrated, say to yourself, why are they getting frustrated? Did they have a rough day? Instead of being defensive and say, well, why are you yelling at me? Just say, what can I do for you? Do you need something? And then slowly do little things for your partner. That way they're going to feel good. And then when it's time to have sex, you're going to feel a little bit more amorous towards your partner and try new things and have that conversation and just come from, I'm going back to that word curiosity and not judgment. Because if you're curious about things that you can do, playing a game, trying a new position, doing something new, a new toy. If you're coming from just being curious and not judgment, you're going to have a much better situation.
Yeah, that's such great advice. I love that. I will have all of the ways to follow you, connect with you for all of the listeners to be able to follow all of the great work that you do. Your
Thank
social
you.
media presence is so great. I love it so much. I love when your posts come up or when I see like your stories. I'm like, oh yay!
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll definitely put all that in there. And I'll definitely have to have you come back again, and we'll talk more fun stuff because
Anything.
you are freaking amazing. Like you're fabulous. This
As
was
are
so
you. I
fun.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I'm always open to talk about absolutely anything.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of the great wisdom that you shared today.
Thank you, Holly. And I appreciate you for helping putting all this information out there for spreading good, positive sexuality.
Absolutely.